Alright, so we are finally going to get to the point where Don Black is going to reveal himself in probably, next episode to it. At least Don Pink. So this episode is really fun in my opinion. So I can't wait for next week already. This week set up a lot for next week. So to start out, we have Don Yellow's aunt gets kidnapped, but I guess she's experienced with martial arts or whatever because it's not a damsel in distress thing where it's like she just gets taken out right away. It literally takes two of the what are they called? Anoi, I think is what they're called. Basically the foot soldiers of the series. And she's fighting off two of them, and the third one has to come up and chloroform her. So they knock her out, take her to I think is it a town hall, I believe is what they called it in this episode. Basically they called it a big white town hall or something like that. So they kidnap her, and then Don Yellow gets the call, and then she goes to the cafe, reports to everyone, and conveniently it's almost like the Anoi, foot soldiers, whatever, knew they were going to be there, their hideout, essentially, because there was one there, and he was waiting and listening to their conversation about how her aunt got kidnapped and whatever, and he, after they're done talking, he goes, yeah, like, we want the bestials gone because they're trying to kill us, and he's being very, nice about it. He's using his manners and whatnot. So it's almost like these foot soldiers that the DonBrothers are just flat out killing in every episode are just these nice people from another world, essentially. So in a light, you could say the DonBrothers are evil in a way. Because we find out at least three of them, because we see three of them in this episode, are very nice. They're pleasant. They're using their manners and whatnot. And so he tells the group hey, help us beat the bestials, take care of them, and we'll let your aunt go. She's not being harmed or anything. And we go. She's tied up in this big pink thing of clothing or of cloth, and it's tied in a bow on the front of her. And they're feeding her food and whatnot. And they're like, hey, you want to try this? You want to try this? And she goes, these guys are kind of hot. I think this is the good kidnapping. I'm so used to here in America, I'm so used to just, that there is... I can't even spit it out. I get it. It's different censorships. It's different, all this other stuff. They don't really have blood, though, they used to, 10, 15 years ago in Sentai. So, that's kind of the same over here, too. There's, no blood in, younger kids' shows and whatnot. Which is, this is what it technically is, because Rider is more so, teen adult. And Sentai is supposed to be kind of, young teen, kid-ish kind of stuff. But there's so much, adult content in here. It's so... it's weird. Now, obviously, there's innuendos and whatnot, but... I don't think that would have flew in American censorship. I don't I don't think so. So then we go back to the cafe, and he somehow has their number and sends them a list of every single bestial. So that's where the setup begins. Don Pink realizes hey, there's gotta be something wrong here because Mio's on the list. This can't be right. And he start mentally freaking out. We see Don Yellow realizes, and I guess I didn't think much of this character, but early on in the show, basically the guy that was crushing on her a lot and talking about oh, my mommy will help this and blah blah blah. I don't think she's ever shown up in the show, obviously in person, but she's shown up by name and whatnot. We find out that guy's mom is a bestial as well. So Don Yellow goes to follow her, stalks her through a grocery store, and she rips open this. I don't know if it was fish or cow or whatever. Basically meat. I don't know what kind of meat it was, but basically she just eats the raw meat out of the package. And then she realizes Daniela's spying on her, so she takes her back to her house and starts, cooking lunch. And Danielle realizes there's no meat, and she thinks she's the meat. She's freaking out. And then she realizes, well, I'll come back to that part, because that part is kind of towards the end, or towards after. So while she's, taken to the woman's house and whatnot, Don Pink is following Mio around, and he instantly he sees her leave the shop talking to this guy, and they go walking away, and he instantly is like, oh, she's cheating on me, like that. Almost gets hit by a car as he's just walking out into the road to try to cross the street, doesn't even look. So then he follows them to this restaurant, pops up, and just starts bawling his eyes out like, you've been cheating on me the whole time? Is that what's going on? And then we find out that she's actually, again, with hairstyles and whatnot, she's trying different hairstyles out on different people. And Don Pink's like, yeah, like, do it to me. So for the rest of the episode, he's got I don't know what the stuff is called, because I don't have long hair and whatnot. But it's like it's to help curl your hair and whatnot. If you have longer hair, you can like curl your hair. I forget. I have no idea what the things are called, because I've never used it. Because so they go to the salon, do that. And then we get back to Daniela having lunch, and she gets this call from a bestial growling and saying, "Hey, now we're the ones that have your aunt, because they essentially absorbed the energy." It was more so the energy, because it was the body too of the three. I'm gonna say foot soldiers, because I don't know how to pronounce the real name. So the 3 foot soldiers got eaten up by there was like 5 bestials in there. So then she's like, okay, well, I gotta crawl out of here because she's one, so you can't be seen. So then there's this scene where she goes, rah. the mom just rah. Oh. And this is obviously after Daniela escaped, because she realized Daniela escaped. So then we get to them kind of talking about, hey, like, what are we going to do? And they're back in the cafe. And that's where the cop, or the ex-cop bestial, was, and says, hey, like, we want the purple, the Musume, whatever. I can't pronounce it. We want that because to them, which again was explained to us a couple episodes ago, and Don read, we see as we're remembering it. Basically, the sword, which is also a body, a being, is the killer of the bestials, the anti-bestial weapon, essentially made by the Don. Or no, I think it's made. Was that the one made by the Cerebrians, and then because the bestials were made by the Don clan. I believe the Cerebrians made the Don Purple. I believe. I can't remember now. There's so many who did what's in here throughout the story so far. I think. Whatever. Point is, anti-bestial weapon. They want to deal with it. Get rid of it. So then they tell the group, the 4 of them, hey, like, this is where we're going to be. Which, again, is the town hall. It was the White House, whatever. And so then they start planning, strategizing. Don Red's like, hey, like, I don't like this. Like, something's got to be going on here. Then we cut to Don Black, who is laying on a bench thinking about Natsumi yet again. And that's when the Cerebrian White comes up to him and says, hey, like, we got information. We know what's going on. Same information they just got. Again, the town hall, the big White House and whatever. And so she's like, hey, like, you got to go tell your people, like, we're going to go with you. We'll team up. We'll deal with this. It's a common enemy. So then there's a mini scene kind of before we go to Don Black where basically I think it was spicy food is what the guy wants, and he just keeps eating spicy food essentially. Turns into a monster of the week. So then after that, after the whole Don Black thing, we go back. Who the monster of the week is terrorizing people. The 4 of them show up and say, hey, like, we don't have time for this. Don Black shows up later and says, hey, like, we gotta go to the house here. And so the monster gets away, they decide, okay, screw the monster. Let's go deal with the bestials instead. Start going there. Don Yellow arrives first because she left the battlefield first with the monster of the week. She's like, screw this. I don't have time for this. I want to go save my aunt. So she did what basically anyone would do and just go on ahead. So she still arrives there first, looking through the window, and decides, like, hey, I can't wait. There's nothing I can do here. So then we find out that Don Black, who arrived last, basically was talking to Mio, saying if a bestial dies, the person that, because they copy, so basically the copy of the person is the bestial, but if you kill the bestial, the person also dies along with the copy of yourself. So then it's like, okay, well, what are we supposed to do? And Don Black has this one thought where he's like, okay, I've seen this woman before. I can't figure out quite what's going on. So again, probably next episode we're gonna. I can't wait. Next week's episode, I cannot wait for that. It's gonna be amazing. So then he follows up. Again, the last one to arrive there. The two Cerebrians beat him there. Then the three Don brothers, Pink, Blue, and Black arrive there and like, okay, well, hey, let's team up, let's do this. And then Don Red comes in and is like, hey, like, we're not doing this, change your plans. Typical trope of, I'm not going to tell you what's going on. We're going to find it out later down the line in another episode. And he's like, hey, we're just not going it. Screw the plan, whatever. And so the Cerebrians think he's a traitor, start attacking him. So then we got a fight there. Then Mio was fighting inside because again, she's faster than like the normal human and whatnot as a bestial. So she went and fought the what are they? The cat. What they call them, feline. The cat bestials. She is a crane bestial, and then I guess the worst of the worst is the penguin, which she doesn't. Again, talking to Don Red before, she doesn't reveal anything about the penguin, but basically you gather from what they're talking about, it's probably feline first, and then crane, and then penguin. That's the pecking order for strongest to weakest. But my guess, maybe cat and crane are on the same level. But the way she's talking, it made it like the penguin ones are more powerful than like even her crane abilities are. So I don't think we've seen a penguin origami bestial yet, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But she's fighting them. They all get, all of them that are protecting the ant go to fight Mio. So then Danielle sneaks in, grabs the ant, goes out of the house a different way that the bestials go out of the house, and they realize like, hey, like the DonBrothers are here. So they knock out Mio in the house, go out to start fight. No, they retreat. Sorry, they retreat. They don't fight at all. They retreat from the DonBrothers. And then we see Don Yellow looking at the Cerebrians fighting, the other DonBrothers and whatnot. And then the Sixth Ranger appears with, whoa, there's the monster of the week! And so they literally, he one-shots the monster, essentially. He doesn't need any help at all, which is why, he's second on the pecking order for DonBrothers, too. Because he's still, the way he has talked for the past, 10 episodes, he's not quite on Don Red's level. So, they beat him, one-shot him. We get this scene where they all kind of go up to the house as the monsters, grow into gigantic size and whatnot. Don Pink sees Mio. Don Black sees Mio, or Natsumi, whatever you want to say. And Don Red's like, hey, like, let's go. like, screw that, let's go. They transform. They do one attack separately in their Megazords, realize like, hey, like this guy's 100 times stronger than what he was. The fact that I don't know how they would know it because they just shot at him, let him go, and then the Sixth Ranger just essentially one-shots him. He doesn't actually one-shot him, but essentially it's just one powerful attack is all it is. So I don't know how they knew he's 100 times stronger when they didn't physically get into a fight with him like at all. So it's very weird, but they combine. I'm almost done here, so I'm gonna let that go. So they combine into the Ultra Super Megazord, whatever. I can't remember the name. It's a really weird name to pronounce, and I'm not even gonna try. I tried the first time, and I'm like, no. The first time it appeared on screen. So then they transform into that one shot, just cut, boom, monster explodes, And then we go back to Don Pink gets to the house first, tries to wake Mio up, wakes her up, and then we see Don Black standing in the doorway, and he's like, holy crap. He's like, what is going on here? And so he kind of leans back up and kind of leans up against the house, and it's just like, okay. So that's how the episode ends. Then we get the preview for next week. And it looks like they're going to have a showdown for who gets the right to have Mio Natsumi. Which is, again, the bestial. It's not actually Mio Natsumi, whatever. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for next week. It appears that Don Black is, at least, like I said in the beginning, at least to Don Pink, reveals his identity. We'll see if the whole cast knows. It might not be till, maybe the following episode after that, but I don't know. I mean, there's been times where they've, haven't shown everything in the trailer. Like, they don't do that. But, like, the trailer is kind of just, like, misleading that it's just them kind of fighting, and then we see them at the end of the trailer, they're fighting together with the monster, all 5 of them. So, who knows if all 5 of them, or all 4 of them are going to know, Don Black's identity or not. So we're going to see next week. So again, I am very excited. So for now, like the video, share the video around, don't forget to subscribe, and I'm out of here. Peace.